is turning, my heart's never learning, I'm just stuck in poetry. Where's my picture postcard, sunset on the boatyard, does that not apply to me?
Welcome to the Need2Know Music Show here on Switchbox TV. I'm Ronan MacManus, and today I'm joined by Calum Gilligan, a Scottish folk singer-songwriter now resident in Liverpool, who last year released his beautiful EP, Maybe Half a Lifetime. His website says, and I'm paraphrasing, 2019 was a resounding success for Calum, and 2020 is looking like an exciting year. It seems like the past few months have been a particularly uninvited halt in what's been fantastic progress for you, Calum. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I don't think anyone was predicting. That's not exactly what I was predicting for 2020. Let's be honest, but
No.
we can do what we can do with it. Really, that's
Yeah, I mean, what have you been doing the last few months? Have you found? I mean, obviously there's been no gigs or anything, but how have you found generally the sort of lockdown lifestyle, and how has it affected you musically?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, it was okay for me. So I've got a day job as well. So I got put on furlough, so I was getting paid through the whole thing. So really, I didn't have to worry too much, which was good. But I think living on my own really helped as well, because I think I've just been able to focus in. I've built myself a little studio thing here. I've just, this room is just my little creative space. So I've been writing a lot. I've been learning a lot of, practicing a lot basically. So I've had what is it now, 5 months or something of just pure practice and music time, which is, it's helpful for sure.
Yeah. So have you been writing
A
lot?
Or... Yeah. So,
yeah.
well, not initially. I think I probably, like a lot of people, I struggled a little bit with the creative kind of output, but I think I was just focusing too much on everything that was going wrong. I was like looking at the news every day, and I was like, "Oh, this is terrible," and it wasn't really inspiring me to write. But after I settled into it and sort of got a rhythm going, I've basically, I've written loads of songs, loads and loads of stuff. So basically, a whole album is coming. That's
excellent. So 2021 is going to
so.
be the exciting year with a bit of luck.
Yeah. We'll postpone the exciting 2020 to 2021, and hopefully. I think a lot of the gigs I had for this year were rearranged, pushed to the end of this year or into next year, I think. So hopefully I'll be, all the festivals and things that I had planned for this summer. Hopefully I'll just be able to pick it up where we left off. I mean, no one got to play them, so they'll just keep the same lineups a lot of the time. So
it saves them booking for next year, I suppose, isn't it?
Sure, yeah, they've already got everyone booked in. Just say, come on, just come next year instead. It's fine. So, yeah, I think that's the case with a lot of stuff. So yeah, hopefully, 2021, we'll see. And it's
So when you're from Galloway, is that right, in Scotland?
Yeah.
So what was it like, kind of growing up there? Was music a big part of the local area, or your family?
Well, music's always been a big part of my family, but I would say that we weren't surrounded by musicians growing up. So me and my sister are both folk musicians now, I think, and but neither of my parents are musical, none of my grandparents are musical. No one played anything. No one, it was purely the influence of the records that they were playing us as kids. So a lot of the time my parents would play us things like Woody Guthrie songs, and there was, interestingly, a lot of Woody Guthrie, Billy Bragg, Bob Dylan, that kind of stuff. A lot of Irish folk as well, which just kind of informed my, like, the roots of it. Then obviously as teenagers we did end up forming bands and things like that. So we did get to, there is, I would say, a scene. There's certainly a scene around there, or was when I was growing up. I wouldn't say it's not comparable to somewhere like Liverpool or Glasgow, because it's so far apart, but music was always part of it. Like, there was never like a day without music is not really a proper day, is it? So
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in a very musical household myself, and Irish
Yeah,
folk was a big part of my
yeah,
upbringing. So I got out to a lot of the Irish sessions and that kind of thing, and it's where you could just basically go into a pub and join in.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And that was I spent a lot of my sort of mid to late teens on that sort of scene. Was there a lot of that kind of folk scene around your way, or was it more kind of rock gigs or you know,
So
that sort of thing?
I think for me, when the folk background was before I picked up a guitar, really. And when I started really getting into music, like playing music, it was from the influence of like American rock bands and stuff like that. So specifically stuff like pop punk, you know, late 90s, early 2000s kind of thing. Um, so I started playing from that. So I think the scene I got involved in was more of a band scene. I mean, look, I formed a band when I was about 14. There was probably about, you could count on one hand the number of bands in the area. Do you know what I mean? And so the gigs were always like specific three bands, or, you know, like in a hall in the middle of nowhere, which was good in a way because everyone went. So, you know, you'd have like all
Yeah,
the local kids would be there, but in another way, it was like there was kind of it didn't encourage you to improve much, because you know, it was like you build it and they'll come, as opposed to if you're good enough they'll come, you know.
so that was a more of a rock scene. Was
Yeah,
that kind of the
definitely. I
pop
think,
punk thing you were talking about? Yeah,
yeah, I think I started learning on an electric, and playing in bands and singing more kind of pop punk type stuff. And then I think it was probably after I went to university and I really rediscovered. So I rejected everything my parents wanted me to listen to when I became a teenager, of course. And then I
yes,
left home, and then I went, "Oh, hold on, this stuff's really good. I like Bob Dylan, you know, like I really like, I really love this. This is amazing." And I kind of just dove in head first, and um, then forgot all about wanting to be in a band. And I had an acoustic, and I was just like, right, this is, I want to be a songwriter. I want to be a songwriter. I don't want to be, you know, I mean, three chords and the truth, or whatever it is.
and the truth, yeah.
It's fine, you know, and it's great. But I was really into lyrics and really into kind of melody and stuff like that. So I think it much more suited folk music, really.
Get myself out of bed, end up tangled in strands of a song.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've a very similar sort of thing. I did that. I dropped all the kind of Christy Moore and sort of Chieftains influences when I was when I got sort of 14, 15. Me and my brother Rory formed a basic grunge. We're a little bit older than you, I think, but
Yeah,
a grunge band, which was kind of, that was our kind of era. You know, the sort of badly singing Pearl Jam and Nirvana songs. You know,
yeah,
and then as I got a bit older, I kind of got more into the kind of the intimacy of folk. Really kind of attracted me. I really loved that, which I realise is kind of what attracted me to Eddie Vedder, lead singer of Pearl Jam, is that kind of intimacy that he brings to that genre. I
yeah,
think folk really attracted me, and the idea of just having a guitar and just singing a song and being able to sort of directly interact with people.
yeah.
Um, would that be a similar sort of thing for you? Did you like that kind of one man, one guitar kind of thing? Did that become a thing for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really. It was almost like you had nothing to hide behind at that point. Do you know what I mean? If you strip it all right back, and you go, well, literally all you have is your fingers, your guitar, and the song and the words you're singing. Like, you've got nothing to hide behind, so there's no excuse almost. So you have to. It's a way of kind of getting yourself to improve and just going, like, well, is that good enough to stand on its own as just one guy with a guitar, or do you have to hide it behind? Not look. Obviously, you know, sticking some drums in something isn't like disguising anything, it's adding something. But I always feel like if you can do it with just an acoustic and hold an audience, and you can sort of affect people with just you and one guitar, then you might be able to do it in a band as well. I think
Yeah, I think there's a kind of a purity to that. I think really, there's a kind of there's a raw. You just have to be talented. I mean, someone who's, I mean, I know you've on your website, amongst your influences, you mentioned Kate Rusby. She's a prime example of someone who does play with other people, but she's the core of her talent is always there. Her voice, the way that she tells us those stories is just it just shines through, and it works if it's just her and a guitar, or whether it's a bigger lineup. It still works well.
I think it wouldn't matter to me. I think I saw her a few years ago at Cambridge Folk Festival, and I think doesn't matter to me whether she's with a band or not. I won't notice them. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's a focal point there. I think she's the thing that you hear above everything else, and that matters. Well, at least to me, anyway.
Absolutely, no, I agree with that.
But yeah, I think that's probably it.
So you played Cambridge last year?
Yes, yeah, I did. So, it feels so long ago now because of this year. But yeah, that was my first. It was my first kind of, I guess, major folk festival, I suppose. So I got booked to play that off the back of playing. So we went as just regular attendees of a folk festival because we loved I'd never been before, and I wanted to see all these amazing acts. And there was an open stage element. There's an open stage element to Cambridge, which is amazing, and I think it's not a thing that really exists in a lot of festivals, especially of that size, because they Cambridge can have the pick of people. Do you know what I mean? They can go,
absolutely.
You want to play Cambridge? And everyone's like, yes, please. All right. But they have an open stage element to it, which is every single day there are 2 or 3 or maybe 4 slots, little 20-minute slots, maybe even 15 minutes at the start of the day, where you can play your stuff and you can get on and you can play on one of the stages. And honestly, I was like, but you have to queue up. There's loads of people go for it, obviously. So you queue up the day before your slot, or the day before the slot you want to go for. And then, it's first come, first serve. It's not really you don't have to audition or anything. You just go, and they go, right, cool, 12:15, 12:30, 12:45, and that's it. And
I've never heard of that before. That's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea.
It's awesome, honestly. And me and my sister went, and we obviously queued up together, got the slot one after the other, and then we played. I think we played our slots, and the guy booking the tent, who booked the tent, said, "Oh, do you know you should come? There's a tent in the campsite as well. You should come and play that. We really like what you're doing. Just come and play that tonight. It's like an open mic for the campers." And I was like, oh, "Yeah, cool." So we went and did that, and again, it went really well for me and my sister, and we both played, and they were like, "All right, we're gonna need your emails." And we were like, oh, "Okay, cool, fine." And he's like, "Not promising anything, but and we were like, didn't really expect to hear anything, and then they emailed us and booked us both to come and play the following year, which is just like a dream.
That's amazing.
Had something like that. It'd be great.
That's sort of like the sort of festival equivalent of the guy with the big fat cigar that says, "Do you want to be a star kid?" Sort of discovering you in the car park.
Exactly. Amazing. And they're really lovely people, like running this stage. The den stage specifically was where we were playing, and it's just such a and we've had some amazing acts on there over the years. They've had people like Passenger, the Staves, all like loads of people have played on that stage, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I think it just shows, like, when when you're going around, and I suppose if you're applying to stuff via email, you can get just you can come up against a wall. You know, there's no personality judgment, or there's no kind of like judging you off your stage presence or anything like that. So like a lot of that can be lost when applying for festivals. So because they don't know, they'll be like, well, how many people do you think you can attract to the festival? Are you gonna, you know, how many likes have you got on Facebook and this kind of thing? And in fact, it's not about that. It's about like how you are on a stage, because at the end of the day, this is the biggest, and this is the hardest thing for me right now, is because I can't be on a stage and I can't perform live to anyone apart from the odd live stream, which is, as you'll know, is no success, unfortunately. You know.
No, I mean, I've been doing a few live streams, and I've just found that even the sort of audience fatigue is kind of kicking in with that, and I feel like that it's just not it's just not ticking the boxes of a live gig. You know, it's not quite the same thing. I mean, have you been doing quite a few been doing live streams yourself?
I've done a couple. So I did one towards the start, which went okay.
For to hunt the bonny shoals of herring. Now you're up on deck, you're a fisherman. You can swear and show a manly bearing. Take your turn on deck with the other fellas.
I did probably about an hour or so, and that was all right. And I noticed a little bit of that. I noticed it sort of. The problem was it was you can ask. One of my biggest things is I love the audience interaction, especially when you've got a longer set, when you're playing and you can chat in between songs and you can explain stuff. You can react to people's faces. You can, you know, and you can't get any of that, unfortunately, because you can ask a question and then it's like 5 minutes until someone, you know, like someone's typed it in and it's come through. It's got to go to a
And then I sort of got told off by my wife because I was doing this. I was sort of going. I found myself at one point during the thing. I was just going, and I was reading the comments. But she said, "You're just you're just staring gormlessly at a screen. That's not good TV, you know." So it's kind of I find it trying to still interact is tough, but it's still kind of better than nothing. And I've got my regular Tuesday I've been doing. I'm getting the same names coming back, and there is a bit of a crowd that's sort of enjoying it, but it's nowhere near the numbers I was getting at the very start of lockdown. You know, it was when it was still all when it was all still new to everybody. You know,
I think I did a thing so I've only done 2 live streams, and the first one was about, you know, maybe 50 minutes to an hour, and then the last one, which was, you know, I guess like 3 months since the previous one. It was like 3 hours and 15 minutes long. I just played through. I've got a list of just like, a list of songs that I just went through all of them, and had this thing, and it felt good because people stuck around from start to finish, which I was relieved, because
that's like Springsteen numbers of Springsteen kind of set lengths, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think like if I did that every week or every few days, like you know for a fact the numbers would just go like just drop off a cliff straight away. I don't know, maybe it's something with live streaming. Maybe you could do something like a short, like 15-20 minute set, only a few songs, and you know, people did comment saying maybe you want to leave people wanting more, whereas I left people wanting less.
Always leave them wanting less.
Yes, absolutely. 3 hours 15 minutes would have been better at 2 and 45, but you know, no, it's
that's
fun.
That's a long old gig though in anybody's book. I mean, that is.
It didn't feel as long as it, you know. It didn't. Because I guess since not having anything else to do, sitting around playing guitar for 3 hours and singing is not really, you know, it's not really. And I'm sitting down, you know. I'm sitting.
Yeah, it's not particularly fatiguing.
No, I found myself getting distracted by the comments though. I had to turn them off at one point. because I was like trying to get into a song, and then I'd look up and someone would have said something funny, mostly Tom
You should.
Moorcroft. So I'd
He's
be
known
like,
for this, yeah.
what was he talking about? It was really
Well,
funny.
Tom's been on this. I've done
Yeah,
Tom's one already.
I
So
watched
people
Tom.
who've watched that, if you haven't watched the Tom one, go back. I had to edit some of the stuff out that we ended up talking about random stuff. I had to edit it down because it just would tangent off into obscure sort of tangents. But I find you have to not. If I read comments during the song, I'm just forgetting what line I'm on, and it just completely gets lost.
I had to just get rid of them. I had to sort of hide them from wherever I was streaming from, and just go back to it and revisit it after a song. But then you're doing the gormless sort of reading through them and go.
Well, I think Ian Prowse, who's a mutual friend of ours. I mean, I met you at the Ian Prowse Monday night in the Cavern has come up. It came up with the Tom Moorcroft conversation that we had. But Ian's great because his girlfriend Mel mans the kind of the iPad, films him, and then relays questions. So I mean, I don't think my wife's just that interested in getting involved with these things, but Mel really it really works as like it's a back and forth thing, and then she filters out certain questions to him, and he answers them and tells stories, and it kind of really works well as a partnership. But I mean, when you're doing it on your own, I know it's having someone that gives a shit enough to just sit there with you. I find that tough.
So
getting the cat to hold the iPad it's a tough ask.
Yeah, next cat, I think I'll try and get that.
So you now live in Liverpool. So it seems we touched on the Ian Prowse on Monday nights. This is how I met you. What age were you when you moved? How long ago was it that you moved to Liverpool, and how did you find settling into the music scene there?
Well, I moved here about 4 years ago, or 4.5 years ago, I suppose. But in reality, my parents had moved down from Scotland to Liverpool. My dad's from here anyway, so they moved down in maybe 2011 or 12. And so ever since that point, I'd been visiting them and dipping my toe into the music scene in Liverpool. So I've been kind of around Liverpool music for about 8 years or so. I think so I'd done things like the occasional open mic with people like Johnny Sands. He runs one in Leaf on Bold Street, and he does a few little things, and I was always struck by the level, like the where the bar was. And that really, I remember the first time coming out, and it was an open mic, like open mics to me, like in Scotland, nothing bad about Scotland, but like where I went to uni, going to an open mic wasn't a scary prospect. You weren't thinking, oh God, everyone's going to be so incredible and I'm going to look rubbish. It was, it was good. It was fun. It was all about, and then I got to Liverpool and I sat there, and Johnny was like, I'm going to put you on last. I'm going to put you on at the end. And I was like, cool, I'll sit through and watch everyone. That sounds good. I'll have a drink, whatever. And then I sat there and slowly sort of went, oh God, oh no. So good. Everyone's so good. I think I saw people like this. Some of the people that we have around Liverpool at the moment, your John Witherspoons and people like that, and Tom. I don't think I saw Tom that night, but people who are, and also people who are incredibly successful now. Like there's a fella from Ireland called David Keenan, who is touring, or before lockdown was touring around with Hosier, and he was on that open mic before me, and I was like sitting there going, oh jeez,
well, I mean, I've asked John to be on this, so he's gonna be on it at some point. John Witherspoon. I mean, I've travelled up a few times from London up to Liverpool, specifically for that Monday night. And it is just, I mean, it's not just Liverpool musicians either, because because I mean, I went on the last time I was up there, or the time before I was something like 9th of the 25, 30 people he has to squeeze in.
Was that
and I
night
was
we had to limit it to one song each, and everyone
yeah.
was just like, it was, yeah, yeah, I remember that
Well,
night.
I was
That was when
I
I
was the
met you, wasn't
first
it?
person from the UK on the stage.
Oh yeah,
It was like the United Nations that night. We had someone from like Argentina, then
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of Spain, and there was a band from Austria
yeah, yeah,
um, who were just sort of rapping and just brilliant. I mean, but yeah, the standard was, but you do get people
incredible.
up there doing their sort of first ever gig, and there's a great mix of that, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But John was someone that's obviously quite well established in the local scene,
He is, yeah,
and really great performer,
yeah, definitely.
great storyteller, and you know, I really loved his songs. But yeah, so so have you found that that's up to your game?
Well, I kind of had to, you
Yeah,
know, I think how it was a case of um improve or give up, you know, like because I'm the kind of person, I don't think I wouldn't get on a stage unless I felt like I could kind of contribute something of
yeah,
comparable quality to everyone else who was on there, you know. And I've always been quite competitive, so I've always wanted to improve anyway. What I tend to do is I like get myself integrated into a scene where everyone's better than me, and just drag myself right up and just be like, I'm gonna learn off you because you're better at the guitar, and I'm gonna learn off you because you're better at writing songs, and I'm gonna learn off you because your voice is amazing, and I'm gonna learn, you know, everything like that. So yeah, it plays into my, yeah. I think a lot. So, you know, if I was a maybe a little bit more um what's the word? If I was a little bit more kind of shy, I might have given up. I haven't seen the quality. I might have gone, oh, this is too much. I might just not, you know, because it seems
but
like,
but in fairness, watching you the first night that I met you, and it might have been that night we were talking about.
yeah,
Um, it hasn't sort of didn't doesn't hasn't made you shout louder. You're still being you, and I
yeah,
was immediately drawn in, and I immediately bought your EP,
you did, yeah.
and
Thanks,
I've
man.
yeah, genuinely became a fan right there and then.
Yeah,
But it was because there's a lot of it's easy to go on there and shout and scream and jump about and think that that's what's going to propel you forward. But
of course,
you
yeah,
what you went on and you just did what you did, and I really thought this looked really settled, and it was really, it really drew me in
yeah,
completely. I mean, I've just wanted to say that really. I've
yeah.
really
No,
enjoyed
thanks. That's,
your
yeah.
performance, and the EP. It's just beautiful. It really is. I mean,
Oh, thanks.
so what was it like? That was your first release, is it? It's your first
Well,
EP, or
I did an album when I was about 21, but I don't think it's not still available anywhere. I don't know why, but it's not.
I've got a few of those.
It's not no, it's not worth searching for. Put it that way. And
There is a copy sunk to the bottom of a river somewhere, but yeah.
yeah, no, so it was one of these ones, right? So what happened was I was 20. I might have even been just 20. I'm not sure. Um, and I was obsessed with Bob Dylan, and I thought like the way he recorded his first album was just so. It was like he just opened everything up and just went woof, like that. It was done so quickly. It was all done live. It was all done like this. And then I got the opportunity. This sort of label set up by a friend of mine went, "Oh, we'd like to release. If you've got any, you know, if you want to do an album, we'll release it for you." And I was like, "All right, cool." And they got this deal on a recording studio in Glasgow, where it was 3 hours for like 50 quid or something. 3 hours for 50 quid
That's going to
to
be
do 3
quality.
songs. And I was like, well, I could do an album in 3 hours, easy, no worries. So I did, and I recorded 12 songs in 3 hours.
Wow.
Just,
You
just
can do an album in 3 hours. It's
you
just
can. It's just
whether
it's
it's
just not advisable
not a
if you
good
want.
idea.
If you want a good quality, unless you're Bob Dylan, of course. But you
Yeah.
know,
Well,
rarely anyone really comes close to that. But yeah, I think at the time I liked the aesthetic of it. The aesthetic and the attitude of it was, this is everything I have, all my songs, all my notebooks, and I'm just gonna stick them out in front, and I'm gonna play through them. And I wasn't, I didn't know anything about recording, so I didn't know to kind of sit and think about it and critique it, or I didn't know what to ask for if I thought something was wrong, or again, the producer wasn't particularly, bothered. He was just, I finish a song and I go, how was that? And he'd go, what do you reckon? I'd be like, well, fine. And then he goes, cool, let's move on. And I was like, all right, then let's do it. So, it was partly just none of us really knew what we were we were doing.
But I mean, I always find that those kind of experiences early on do help. My granddad always said, nothing's ever wasted. So I think that kind of experience is all part of building towards what became your EP. Must have taken all that with you and learned from it. So what was it like getting maybe Half a Lifetime done? That was done in Liverpool, I presume.
It was done down near Sandhills. There's a studio down up north Liverpool slightly, and I did it in there, and it was much better because I think there was a relationship with the producer. There was a dialogue going on. I knew roughly what I wanted by this point. I had these songs, and there's only 4 songs on it, I think. Was it 5? Is it 5 songs? I think it's
5 songs, yeah.
5 songs, yeah. There's only, it's not an album. It's not a full thing where I'm like, I'm pressed for time. I had the time to sit and work it. And I think having, more than just me in the room, I had Danny Bradley, my friend Danny, in the room as well. And I think, having the input of, I think maybe why don't we try it like this? And, we'd worked through everything beforehand anyway, obviously. And then Rory, the producer, he had input, and he suggested things, and he asked, what kind of sound do you want? What are we talking about here? He wanted to know, because, when you care, I guess when you care about what you're producing as a producer, you need to know all these things, and it's important.
Well, that's the polar opposite of your experience in Glasgow, I suppose. Isn't there? Someone who's thinking, well, I'm putting my name to this, therefore I'm going to have some kind of
I think
professional pride about it.
Yeah, no offense to the fellow who produced that, of course. I think we were all new to what we were doing. He just opened the studio. I just started playing I just started writing songs anyway. They just set up their label. I think it was all just like, everyone was brand new, and everyone was just like, is this how it's done? I think
feeling the way through the dark a bit. Yeah.
And I think Rory's a little bit more experienced, and I was, by the time I did maybe Half a Lifetime, I was a lot more experienced and knew roughly what I wanted to produce. So that was a relief, actually. And I'm but some of those songs are quite old. So I mean, quite old. They span over a period of time from maybe just after the album.
You probably played them live quite a lot at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Which is where the name comes from, really. I mean, the name's in one of the songs, but also it works. It works because it feels like Half a Lifetime building up to that EP, really. And now I think maybe my next one could be called maybe Just a Lockdown. Because that's where all these songs have come from. All these songs have been written since September last year, and we'll see how it goes.
Let's call it 6-month lunchtime.
Yes. That's good. Yeah, for sure.
So would you say, looking for a career highlight sort of from you, would you say the Cambridge Folk Festival is that highlight, or is there other moments that kind of really stand out for you and things you've done?
This I think I could pick a few probably. I think the release of the EP, having it received as well as it was, especially at Cambridge, because I sort of pre-released it at Cambridge, and when you when you open yourself up to an audience that is as discerning as the folk festival audiences, you kind of go, oh man, these guys are used to seeing people like Richard Thompson, and like if they like me, that's that feels amazing, it's incredible. So loads of people bought CDs at Cambridge, and I was like, oh, is this real?
There's something in this.
This means I can do this. All right, cool. So Cambridge, I think the release of the EP, I think I was getting a lot of, like, post EP, I was getting a lot of kind of momentum from it in terms of bookings for this year, which I just have to calm myself down and go, it'll continue once this is done. You know, once this is out the way, we'll carry on. And the album, if anything, will spur it on further. You know, it's not like I'll probably not have lost anything necessarily by just having.
I think almost there's going to be a kind of a hunger for live music that there maybe wouldn't have been before. There maybe people might, you know, the sort of old thing that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. When live music returns, there could be people that really going to really make the most of it and appreciate it a lot more. Sure. So we can only hope that that's going to be the reaction. Or people have completely forgotten that we exist. And
no, never. Like there's never going to be a world where music is not important, and whether it's, you know, whether we're all trapped in a big gas cloud and having to do it remotely, or we can go out and, you know, we can play live, you know, as long as it's there, that's all that matters, really, I think. But there is not, like, I could release 15 albums, 20 albums, and it's never as good as playing in front of an audience. Like the EP being released was great, but the EP launch was the best. You know, actually, that's the highlight. There's the highlight for you. The EP launch is without doubt the highlight of my entire musical thing, because it was my piece of work being released to an audience that was sold out in a venue in my favorite city and with my favorite people, and it was an amazing gig, and it was just one of the highlight, definitely, for sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Right, this is the Need to Know Music Show, so we always get a recommendation of everybody. What's your recommendation for people to check out?
Well, that's a great question. I should have thought about this beforehand, probably, shouldn't I? Well, I think I was talking about him earlier, and you've said you want to get him on the show anyway. I think John Witherspoon is he's definitely one of the best songwriters that I know personally. He's you know, incredible lyricist, and I think immediately when he released a song recently called "I Am Your Darling," and immediately after listening to that for a couple of times, I was like, I have to learn this song and play it now. And I've done a version of that. I haven't released any video or anything of it yet, but John Witherspoon for sure. Check his music out. It's fantastic. We'll
put the link to his stuff on there. There'll be a link on the screen as we're talking. And we'll put all the links in the description. Links to all your stuff too. Yeah. But thanks for joining us, Callum.
Problem.
It's been absolutely great having this chat with you. And good luck with everything you're doing. And when all this lockdown is over, I hope to see you at some point in Liverpool or wherever our paths cross.
Who knows? Yeah, it'll be great.
All right. Good luck, Callum. Thanks very much.
Cheers. See you later. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye now. Bye-bye.